I'm going to take my very first trip as a jumbo jet pilot. I've been studying for weeks on this. And so I think I'm ready. I think I'm ready. I've taken off and crashed so damn many times, but I think I'm ready for my first maiden trip. And I'm going to be going to Auckland, New Zealand. And we're going to fly to, I think it's Wellington. It's a short trip. And I chose it for a couple of different reasons, but let's move this into daylight a little bit. I'm going to be flying the Airbus 320neo. I have several versions of this. There is the version that is the one that you get with the game, and that's the 320neo. This one is the one I should have been learning on, and it isn't. I had to buy mods. There were mods out there I had to get, and I got 2 of them. And I've been learning to fly on those, and it's been awful hard. Each one is different, is harder than the next one. And I didn't realize, had I started on this one, it would have been easier. Because the in-game one, there's a lot of stuff on the in-game one that you cannot change. In other words, there's buttons and switches that don't work. And the reason for that is the game inputs that stuff for you. So there's very little that you actually need to do to get ready. There's still quite a bit, don't get me wrong. It's still not easy, but it's easier than what I was doing, and I just didn't realize it. So I'm not going to be using the in-game one. I do have 2 more. One of them's not loaded in the game. Little tip, you have what they call a community folder, and if you start putting mods in here, and a mod could be anything, including liveries. As you can see, I've got a lot of liveries that I can choose, to fly. Like I can do United, Delta, all kinds of different things. Alaska, a lot of things I can fly. Frontier. Those all take memory. And so what I usually do before I turn the game on each time is decide, am I going to be flying a jumbo jet? Am I going to be flying, a smaller prop plane? Am I going to be flying something that's in-game? If that's the case, then I don't need all those mods. So I take them out of the folder. And I'm saying that because one of the planes that I bought is not in the folder, and I can't show it to you. It's called the Phoenix, and it's very sophisticated, and almost every button and switch in this damn thing works, and you have to know how to do it. So I've been playing with that, but I've been learning on this one that I'm going to show you. This one's called the Fly-by-Wire Simulation, the 320neo Leap. Now, this one is free. I got this one free. The Phoenix I had to pay for. I can't remember. It was 50, 60 bucks, I think, something like that. But anyway, this is one I've been learning on. So I'm going to use it. And I'm going to fly. Let's fly United. I'll fly United today. Okay, and we're going to start off at Auckland. We're not going to start at a runway because I want to start completely dark. So we're going to go to gate 2. And the flight conditions, I want it to be some daylight. And I'm not flying with any weather because 1, this is my first trip. I don't want to cause too much trouble. 2, I want to be able to see everything. So if I'm flying through rain clouds and things like that, it might be a little bit harder for me. It's the landing I'm worried about. I need good weather for the landing because I'm just not good enough yet. All right, so here we are. I want to show you some things before I get started. I've watched videos till my eyes bleed. I've seen many ways of doing things. A lot of them are very similar, but everybody has their own timing when they do stuff. Like one guy might do this first, and another might do something else first. So I've watched enough of them that I got a pretty good idea how I want to do it. So I sat down and typed all of the stuff that this is my way of getting up off the ground, all the things that I need to do and check. I made that myself for me, and then I told you I purchased some planes, and I also purchased some graphing programs and things like that. Okay, so I'm paying. This is free. You can use this for free. It's called SimBrief, but like everything else is free, it doesn't give you everything you need unless you pay. So I went ahead and paid for this in the company that runs this is called Navigraph, and I purchased Navigraph so that this is the free version or the free part of it. But I paid for Navigraph, and I'll show you what I get for that. But for right now, this is my route from Auckland to Wellington, and this is my flight plan. So what this program does is you put in all the information that it needs, and then it routes a course for you, and then it gives you a flight plan, which is actually like a real flight plan. It's called the OFP. And it gives you all the information. As a matter of fact, it's so like the real one, it even has a place for your signature when you turn it in to the dispatcher at the airport. So, but look at all the information you get. You get tons and tons. This is just for that little short flight plan that I just showed you. All of this information, and a lot of it you're going to need. So. But it plots it all out for you, and then this right here is my actual route, starting at Auckland at runway 23L, ending in Wellington at runway 34. And I'm going to be entering this stuff in that I need, the things that I do need out of here. So I want to keep that handy. All right, let's get this show on the road. First of all, we are in Auckland. We're in what they call a cold, dark plane. Oh, I got a co-pilot. I actually have a pilot too. That's supposed to be me, but it doesn't look like me. Anyway, so it's cold and dark, which means nothing is on. We have no power. So the first thing we want to do is go up here and turn our batteries on and hope that there's power in the batteries. You hear a little bit of clicking, which means there is a little bit of power in each of these batteries. Okay, so we then want to go down and turn our pad on. You might hear me call this an iPad. It's not an iPad, but it's a pad, and I just called it iPad. So from here, and the reason I wanted to show you SimBrief is because it's got all the information you need for a flight at current time. If I wait more than a few hours, some of this information is not going to be correct. So anyway, it's that accurate. So we're going to import that into our pad. Okay, so there's our route, Auckland to Wellington, and there's our flight plan that I just showed you. This right here is this from the web page. We just imported it in. All right, and then this is our plane representation, our services, our pushback, our fuel, and our payload. I don't use their pushback because I have another program that I paid for that kind of adds a little bit of realism to the game, and it's called GSX. It sometimes works, sometimes doesn't, but this is it right here. So you can select to deboard, to put catering services on. I'm having trouble with that one. I don't know why. You can refuel, have the plane board, and it just gives you some realism to it. There's people talking to you, and all these little guys here, they do a job, that kind of thing. So, but this has a pushback on it that I'm going to use. All right, so let's get started. First of all, we need to get power in the plane. So we'll get back in here, and we've got we have that ground crew underneath the plane, so they'll hook us up to some external power. So let's do that. And that way we won't run our batteries down. You can hear everything turning on. There's the air. Speaking of air, we need to give crew some air, so let's do that. We don't want them suffocating. And while we're here, let's turn these lights up a little brighter in case we run into dark weather. All right, and then we'll turn our nav and logo lights on. When we start loading, we'll come back in here and turn the seatbelt light. Let's turn that off for now. All right, and then we can start these up here. These are gyros. There's 3 gyros in the plane that help it when it has to turn and maneuver and stuff like that. And they tell me in real life these take a little bit of time to warm up. So we'll turn those on. There. We've got our fuel pumps, all these fuel pumps, but I don't want to turn these on until after I've refueled the plane and I'm ready to start the engines, which I'm not. So we'll get that started. We got some other things to do, but first of all, before I start turning on internal power, I do want to come in here and start selecting some things to put on the plane. So the flight plan, right now we've got, let's see, 95,024 kilograms, or is that kilograms? Whatever that is. When I'm flying in America, I have say pounds, because I don't know what the hell that means. But anyway, we need to get the exact amount of fuel that we need from SimBrief, because we need to know how many passengers we're going to have and how much cargo we're going to have and what it weighs. I don't know that, but SimBrief does. So as soon as I get that information from SimBrief, then we'll know how much fuel that we're going to need for this trip. So let's fill that in. And it wants 4,966, whatever that is. So then we can say, okay, put that in. And it's going to start refueling. So now you notice I had more than that in there. So it actually takes it out and then puts it back in. But it comes into the plane and then it goes into the wings. And a little tip, I started a plane up once, and I started having klaxons go off and warnings and all kinds of stuff, and I couldn't figure out what was wrong. And I found out what was wrong was there was fuel in the main part of the plane instead of the wings. So all I had to do was come in and refuel it again. And when you refuel it, it takes all the fuel out and puts it back in what you need. And that distributed it correctly and fixed the problem. Isn't that weird? I think that's weird. So anyway, it's fueling slowly, but let's move out. All right, so let's go to our onboard computer, and we're going to start transferring some information. Now, there are some things that we need to input in here, but there are also things that SimBrief already knows. So we're going to go to HSU, AOC menu, and then the init, and then right here, the init data I can request from SimBrief, and it'll transfer it over. All right, there it is. There's our flight, our destination and arrival, and everything we need to get started. So let's go back to the AOC menu. Okay, from here, the refueling should be done. And it is, I think, yeah, okay, 0 time. So we can start boarding the plane now that the fuel's on. So let's start, we'll get that information from SimBrief. We got 165 passengers and 33,000, whatever that is, of cargo. And so we're going to tell it to start, and we're going to tell it in real time. So let's start boarding. Now, as this weight is coming on, you'll see lights are coming on. Those are people coming onto the plane. And they can't all sit in one place. Let's say this plane would hold 300 people, and we've got 165 coming on. If they were all in the front or the back, we'd have a problem. So as you notice here, as things are being loaded on, that weight is being distributed. And you can see it up here too, as these little sliders move. So the plane is putting the weight where it needs to go. All right, so let's get some power to the plane. Internal power. First thing we're going to do is turn these fuel pumps on. And then we're going to start this APU. This is an internal power generator so that we can get off this external power. So let's hit the master switch. We go to center here. And we're waiting till a flap opens. There it is. And we're going to start it. That should start up here. There it goes. While we're here, let's turn some lights on. Get those two monitors bright. Okay, and then let's turn this up too while we're here. This little computer. Okay, so we'll wait for that to get fired up. And while we're waiting, you'll notice that there's fumes coming out of the back of this plane. That's because there's a little engine in there that we just turned on to power this plane. That's what that is. All right, while that's loading, we want to turn our seat belts on and turn our smoking signs on, or no smoking signs. Got our nav light on. I'm getting ready to start the engines as soon as that APU comes up. Okay, the APU is available now, so I can turn the bleed on. The bleed is, that thing's generating air. And if we bleed the APU, that gives the turbines enough air to turn over and start the engines. So we're going to turn that on. Remember when I was talking to you about this plane versus the in-game one? In the in-game one, none of these buttons work here that I can turn the APU on and see what it's doing. Let's do a little bit of a checklist on the engines before we start them up. So let's turn these lights up a little bit. We just want to make sure that everything's in order before we start these engines up. So we've got our weather system here, and this one here. We want to make sure those are both off until we get running and we're ready to take off. We want to make sure the engines are off and that this is in normal mode. The speed brakes are off and the flaps are up. We want to make sure this cockpit door is open. It is. We want to make sure this this TCAS is on standby. This system here is the system that when you're flying, if you get close to another plane, they can see each other, and it gives them both warnings. And now it's a very simplistic thing, but that's basically what it does. And there's two settings on it, and I don't recall which one you use. I know which one we're going to use, but I don't know the difference between the two. I just know that one of them squawks more than the other one does, for whatever reason. Okay, we want to make sure that parking brake is on, and that the rudder trim is trimmed or is in the middle. And then, while we're turning bright lights on, let's make sure that these lights are bright. before we take off. Okay, and we got little floodlights up here that we can turn up. They look like they're putting out light already, though, so I'm not going to worry too much about it. Let's check the co-pilot side. I don't turn these up because I don't fly over here, and they just take up memory. So as a matter of fact, if you want to, if you've got FPS problems, you can kind of turn some stuff down. Okay, so let's get back into the computer and finish up here. So we left off on the flight plan, I think. Or did we? No, we didn't. We left off on any. No, we didn't either. Okay, so in the flight plan process, we left off that we requested our information. So let's start with the init, and we're going to put this information in what we can request. Okay, and there is our flight number, our from and to, all that kind of good stuff in here. Our cost index that we get from the flight plan. And that's all ready to go. So let's move down to the flight plan. And it's got our flight plan put in that we requested. But let's take a look. We need to start with our departure. And according to our flight plan, now I could bring the in-game pad up and show you, but it's easier for me to pull this thing over. I just pull this over. Okay, so this is our route right here. We're starting in Auckland at 23 left. So we choose 23 left here. Okay, from there we have Steel 1P, Carol, Y506, T-Papa 4, A4A, and then our destination, runway 34. Okay, so let's put all that stuff in. There's Steel 1, or St1, there's Carol. Okay, so we've got our runway 23 left, our SID, and the transition, and we insert that. Okay, now we move down our flight plan, and from Carol we had the Y506, there it is, and we had the T-Papa, there it is. Now we need to do our arrival, and for it we needed 34, runway 34, and we needed the other T-Papa. I missed it. There it is. T-Papa 4A. And there was no Vias, so we can put no in there. And so it would have been in the flight plan if there was one. So what that is from T-Papa 4 to the runway, there's nothing in between. Sometimes you have to have a way of getting from point A to point B. There isn't. So that should be all we need. We can insert that, but you need to double check it. So let's start at the top. Okay, there we are in Auckland. We've got our initial takeoff and then we end up at the Steel, then Limes, then Carl. and we have a discontinuity. We'll have to fix that. Then we go to Silva, the Y506, and the T Papa. From the T Papa, we go to Bruda, Pegu, Ugtov, Ekleb, and Ripa. We have our deceleration. We go to Jonah, and then Amaga, and then Bhutan, and then our runway. The F-134, and then our runway. But we have 2 discontinuities in there, so we need to fix those. What happens there is, if there's a discontinuity, it means that the computer... Let's take the first one. Where is it? There. We go from Limes to Carl. At that point, the computer doesn't know how to get to Silvo. So it puts this in here. All we have to do is clear that. It has a question. We can clear it, and it'll link up these 2. Now, that's not always the case. Sometimes there's a discontinuity that it can't get from point A to point B, and we have to use a chart to find something to put in between there to link those 2 up. Fortunately, that doesn't happen too often because I don't know how to do that, or I don't know how to do it very well. So we should be able to just clear that out. Oh, we've got something stuck in there. This bottom part right here is your notepad. So anything you notice that I type in there shows up there and then can be put to use. So that cleared that up, and it didn't add anything, so we're good to go. Let's find the second one. Right there. And again, hopefully we can clear it out. And we can. And we should be okay to the end of the plan. Okay. Now, one thing that we can do is we can look at that. So first of all, switch this over to plan. Switch that to plan. We go down here where we can reach our computer, and it'll show you a little plane right here. This is the airport we're at, and this is when we're going to take off from this end over here. When we get to the end of the runway, we're going to have to take immediate left while we're climbing out, and then we end up going to our next, which is Steel, Limes, Carl, and on we go. And we can look at this and make sure there's no break in that green line. This should take us all the way to the end and our arrival point. There we are. It looks good. Great. No problems. There's one thing that I want to fix, though.
Boarding completed.
Okay, the boarding is completed, so we're ready to go. So, but first, though, I want to... This right here. The flight plan wants me to climb to 36,000 feet. Now, I don't want to. If we look at this... Whoops, I didn't mean to do that.
Ladies and gentlemen from the flight deck, on behalf of myself, your captain, the first officer, and cabin crew, I'd like to take this time to welcome you aboard our flight. We're just wrapping up some paperwork up front here and waiting to receive final numbers from the ground crew, then we'll be on our way. Flight attendants will be coming through the cabin shortly with a very important safety briefing. We do ask that you give them your full, undivided attention as they review the safety operations of this Airbus aircraft. We do appreciate your business having you aboard this flight. If there's anything we do to make your flight any more enjoyable, please don't hesitate to ask. Welcome aboard.
All right. That didn't sound like me. Anyway, this is our route. It's not very long. And so if I'm flying at 36,000 feet, it'll take me half the route to get up there because I don't want to climb terrible steep. It frightens the passengers. So, but if I did that, then it would take me too long to get down and properly land. So I'm going to drop that down a little bit. So we're going to drop this to FL 18 So that's going to drop that from 36,000 down to 18,000. And so let's see if that works, if it'll take it. And it did. It took it. It left temperatures fine. So there's that. Okay, now we need to find out what our barometers are going to be. So that I want to go in here to Atsu, AOC menu, the init. No, not the init. Whoops, go back. The weather request. And I'm going to send a request for weather. And it's going to give me the barometer for all three of these. Now, this is an alternative route. If I was to come from Auckland down to Wellington and run into bad weather and I couldn't find the airport or any other problem, this is my alternate airport down here at Christian Church. A lot of people will enter this in this computer, but I haven't been doing that. I've been running in clear weather, so I'm not worried about it. Now, if I start running live weather at some point when I get good at this, if I ever do, then I'm going to start doing that, because you need to have that ready if you have a problem, so you can just link up with that and fly to where you have to go to be safe. But right now I'm not doing that. So we're going to get our weather from Metar. So all I have to do is hit this send button. And that's going to send a request out for the weather, right? Okay. Let's double check everything. Okay, we got our 165 passengers. Everything's loaded. Fuel is on board. I don't have any other services that I want to do at this moment. So I think we're okay there. Let's double check a couple other things here. Oh, I know there is one thing to do. And that is on the payload. I need this number right here, 24.8. Okay, 24.8. That is, that's our center of gravity weight. Remember when I told you that this had to be loaded properly or we wouldn't be flying anywhere? That's our center of gravity. So I need that for some other stuff. All right, we did our flight plan. Let's look at the init page 2. And this is where we need to put that right here. 24.80. So we need our ZFW, and we get that from the flight plan as well. $59.7. That's our zero flight weight. 59.7, so we need to enter that. $59.7, and then a slash. Have to do it in the same way as up here, and then 24.8, and then that goes here. Okay, and then we need our block weight, and that also was on the flight plan. Block weight right here, 4966. That's the amount of fuel they put on. So 49.6, and that'll go there. Now that should be everything we need at this point. And you notice that everything was calculated after I did that. The computer worked. So let's see if we got our weather. Go back to Atsu and received messages. So we do have a message. There it is. It's from Metar. We can click on that, and then we can print it. And we have a printer down here between ourselves. So we're going to print that out. Okay, and then let's take a look at that. It places it right here above the throttle. So we can get down here. Okay, this is the weather information that we have, but the thing that I wanted was the barometer. Q1017 for this airport. The destination airport is 1020. So 17 and 20. All right, so we need to enter that in a couple of places. First of all, right here. So it's got 1013 already. We need 1017. Right, and then when we come up here, we want to change this to that setting and put our 17 in there. And I do have this set so that both the co-pilot and pilots are the same. I had to set that somehow. I don't remember how. There's something I was reading. But in the settings, you can make it so both of them are the same. He's got the flight director on. We have the flight director on. We don't have to worry about that. It's already on. And so, okay, we got that. Now we got a couple other things to do before we can take off. Make sure everything's the way it needs to be. Okay, so right here are APUs running and available, so we have onboard power. We don't need this anymore, so let's shut the outside power off. And we're going to be starting the engine soon, but not quite yet. Let's go back here. Let's see, we did the init. We did the flight plan. We did the init 2, page 2. Progress. We need this information right here. These 3 right here will tell us what speed we need to before we can take off. And that had to be figured by the weight. Now that we've got all our weight taken care of, we can do that. And also, part of that information told us that we had to have our flaps at 1. I already know that. So we're going to put our flaps in. By the way, if you don't do the flaps, this doesn't show up. So you do the flaps first, and then you just, there it is right there, 181. We put it in. 177 and 176. And everything that we need should now be in the computer. I hope. We'll keep our fingers crossed. All right, I think we're about ready to start the engines and get out of here. Let me just do a double check of my list. Did I show you that? I might not have. I've been watching videos till my eyes bleed, and everybody does everything that needs to be done, but they don't always do it either the same way or in the same order. So what I did was I followed all of them, and then I made my own. And so I have it typed up here. This is my list of things in order to do them. And I can kind of glance at it to make sure that I didn't miss anything, which I'm doing right now. There's another way to do things too, and that's to go to the pad here. And you've got your, where are they now? Checklists right here. You've got checklists you can do. Cockpit preparation. We've done all these. The ADIS, the navigation, the barometer. We did that. So you can also use these. Once I'm really good at this, I probably will use this just for realism type things. You know, I check the parking brake, the speed and thrust, and the windows, and the beacon. And hey, that's something about this that a lot of people don't know about. I accidentally found out. These windows open right here. You can open them. Oh, that maybe was the Phoenix. That's the Phoenix. I'm thinking of the other one that I paid money for. This plane right here, if I didn't mention, is a free download that you can get, because it's a learning thing. But let's try it. Let's see, that would be ground. Pushback. Pushback is off. Call a tug. Parking brake. Okay, let's do this. It's telling me that it might be a conflict with that program I've got. Let's find out. Call a tug. Tug is attached. You can't see it. It's invisible. Okay. Tug is attached. We want to go backward. Okay, since I had to do this myself, I wasn't able to start the engine, so let's put the parking brake on, get back inside, release the tug. Waiting for the tug pin. I don't see anything, it's all invisible. Okay. Pushback system off. Parking brake is on. We're done. All right, we can start the engines. We got our chocks and cones on, so let's take those off. Pushback services. Wheel chocks. Are you kidding? They don't seem to be working. Let's just do this. I got to figure these programs out. They don't work. I paid money for them. They don't seem to work very good. So let's go in here, and we'll put this in start mode. Whoop, start mode. Make sure that our engine's still running here. Bleed is on. We need the bleed on because that's what gives the power to start. And then we just start engine number 1. And let's watch it happen. Okay, it's going up. You have to wait till about 20 or 30. I can't remember. So I usually wait till it reaches 30. You can hear it at 25. There it goes. At 25, you can hear it. So then we go back. We start engine number 2. And number 1's going like a bat out of hell. Number 2's racing to catch it. And it'll tell us when they're available up here. So if we were using that other system, they would say, we're waiting to hear that your engines are okay. And then once they're both available, then you can tell them, okay, I'm good to go. And they'll drive off. Okay, the first engine is available. Hear that click? That's the engine kicking the power in. Okay, it's available. So both engines are running and available. We can now come up here, turn the bleed off, and we can actually turn this APU off. All right, and we should be ready to go unless I miss something. There's a couple things more you have to do. There's a lot of stuff that you have to do once you get in the air. So let's get ready to move it. Let's change this to the the ARC. We need to put our initial altimeter setting. I'm going to go initially to 5,000 initially, and then we got to move up to 18,000. And that's good. Let's turn this on to airports. Now, this is something you don't have to do, the airport thing. One of the guys I watched does this, and it makes sense when you're looking at your scope here. Local airports around you will have a little mark around here, and so if you're flying and you have trouble, it'll show you where the nearest airport is, and you can change course. To me, that sounded reasonable, so I've been doing that. And you can't see it from here because I've got it zoomed in too far. So we'd have to zoom this thing out a little bit before they show up. There they are. There's one right there. That's what you'll see at 40. And so I usually run it at 40 because, well, let me show you something here. I'm going to put it back here. If you hit your right Alt key on your keyboard and left click on that, it makes a copy of it, and you can change the size of it. And I take this and put it on my other monitor so I can watch it constantly. And then if I'm in another part of the plane, I can still see that up there. Pretty sweet, eh? Let's make sure this is on our flight plan so that I can see, because I need, I need to do this. Hang on. Let me get up close and personal. I need to find out what my altitudes are. So immediately taking off 500 feet. When we get to steel, I need to be to 5. That's why I set that initial at 5. I mean, we're going to be up to 500 before I can sneeze. And then 5 stays that way until Carl, when we start rising to 18,000. So at Carl, I write 18,000, and then it stays 18,000 until we get to Pegpu. Then we drop down to 11. At Ugtov, we need to be down at 9. And I'm writing these down. Okay, at Uklub, 7,000. Ripa is 7,000. And then the deceleration mark is there. That's when we need to start coming down for sure for landing. So we'll drop down to 3 and then to 2. And then we'll be down, then we'll be down to the airport. So I need to check this because it takes time to go up and it takes longer to come down. So you need to write those down so you know what's going on. All right, so let's see. What else do I need to do here? All right, I got my flight director on. I got my barometer. I think I'm ready. So let's take the brakes off and let's head to the end of the airfield. I have another program that I purchased, and what it does is it adds a little more realism. It adds passenger sounds from the back of the plane. You can hear them boarding. You can hear the crew giving their instructions at how to puke in a bag. You can hear all the sounds that you would normally hear in a plane in flight. You can tell the crew members to serve alcoholic drinks and food. and tea and coffee. They have access to inboard movies, so you can start a movie running. It's quite extensive, and I started using it. The first time I used it, it worked really good. The next time I went to use it, all hell broke loose. So I don't know what the problem is. I'm going to have to look into it. Maybe I don't have it set up right. And normally this one here I would be using a lot more, but it's acting up as well. As you noticed, I couldn't call it a backup truck, a tow truck. So it's not working either. I think maybe it just needs to be reloaded or something. Yeah, it's funny, that program that mimics the passengers, they really react. Like if I started racing down the runway, they'll start screaming. They don't scream when you take off, but when you're on this taxiway, oh, taxi. I forgot something. I need to turn our lights on. Let's see, we need the taxi nose. We need the strobe, the beacon. Oh, geez. I'd have been in trouble. You have to have the beacon on as soon as the engines are running. And that triggered the crew. Okay. Seatbelts are on. No smoking's on. We need to, oh, I didn't arm the emergency light there. We need to arm that. Man, I'm fired.
Once again, we'd like to welcome you on board. Your safety is our top priority, so we appreciate a few minutes of your attention while we demonstrate the safety features of the aircraft. You can follow along with the safety information card in your seatbelt pocket. Please fasten your seatbelt, insert the flat metal edge into the buckle and pull on the strap tight. To release, switch the top off of the buckle. Please keep your seatbelt fastened when we try to press your left. Seatbelt sign is off and have it through at all times.
Yeah, if you hit turbulence, you hear screaming from the back, and you get rated. So it'll rate you, like your passengers, they have comments, and it'll say, hey, best flight I ever had, and somebody else said, oh geez, I'm sick, and you'll get a percentage rating of satisfaction. So you can imagine the first time I used it, my satisfaction rating was down in the 30s, and then I hit some turbulence and the screaming started. Oh my God, they were just screaming bloody murder. It was actually pretty funny.
If there is a change in cabin pressure for oxygen mask will drop from overhead. Friendly will command emergency starting flow of oxygen. Place mask over your nose and mouth. Hope your mask transparent.
All right, let me put the parking brakes on. There's some things I need to make sure are right. We need to pull this speed brake and arm it. And we can turn this off because the engines are running. We need to put our flaps down to 1. We need to turn our TCAS on. That's the system that tells me somebody else is flying too close to me. So we need to put that in auto, and we'll put this all the way over to the right.
Flight attendants, please prepare for takeoff.
Okay, so he's telling the crew to prepare for takeoff. They've already kind of started doing that. We need to turn our weather radar on, and I can't remember what this one is. I don't remember. I'm going to have to look to see what that one is. It was something important, I know. Anyway, I think that's all I need to do, and I think we're okay. Now, when we take off, we're going to take our throttle here. Let me put that up there where it was supposed to be, in idle. Now notice these switches are independent. Well, I've got one throttle. My other Hotas, they're separated. I actually have 2 controls, one for each engine. But I'm not using that one currently. And so they're not synced up, and I'm trying to figure out how to do that. So when I take off, I'm going to immediately get a warning that these are not synced up. So the first thing I'm going to do is take these not all the way. If you take this all the way, they call that toga. You see this up here, T-O-G-A, toga? That's to go around. That's full power. So if you're coming down to land and something was wrong and you were going to miss the airport, or you came in too high and took you too long to come in and you don't have enough runway left, you'd have to immediately take off again. That's what that is, the toga. Full power, and we're shooting out of here. You don't fly at full power. So there's a mark here, this flex one, and then there's this clear one. And I'm not sure what that means, but that's where you want to fly, right there, because that's your automation. And that controls the speed when you're climbing or declining. So what I'm going to do to start with is I'm going to put until I lock up on that, and then we're out of here. See, I've already got a warning on the dashboard. Okay, 176, I think, was my takeoff. And it's coming. Okay, we're up. I can put the landing gear down, put the flap up, and we immediately have to take a left. So let's do that gently. And we're climbing. Let's straighten out. We're going to climb to our first spot, which was 5,000. I don't have the pilot on yet. The autopilot is not on yet. So let me see if I can turn it on yet. No, it won't let me. I know, shut up. Yeah, it's not going to let me put the autopilot on until I get closer to my first location there. So I'll just keep it on that green line for now. Or try to. We're reaching 5,000. Let's try the autopilot again. Nope, not yet. Yeah, I gotta get closer to there, I think. Whoop. Hush up. Yeah, I've already passed my 5,000. There we go. Autopilot is in. Okay, now what I need to do is put our altimeter on manual. On automatic. So let's do that. And we're going to be going up to 18 pretty soon, so I'm not too worried about it. But you notice it's starting to come back down to 5,000 because that's where I've got it set. But it's wanting to go to 11 pretty quick. So we'll just let this go. It knows what it's doing now. If I programmed it right, that's the important thing.
From the flight deck, ladies and gentlemen, as you may have noticed, we have begun our initial descent down to our destination.
No,
Now
we
will take some
didn't.
time to wrap
It
up
thinks we're
anything
coming
that
down
needs to be
already.
taken care of as we prepare for approach. If you are up, once you return to your seat, we ask that you remain seated until the aircraft arrives safely at the gate. Flight attendants, please
Computers.
prepare for right.
Yeah, it thinks we're coming down already. No, we're not. Not well. Maybe we are. I'm due for a good crash. Okay, so let's see here. Let me see. We got the no skid was on. I think I turned that on when you weren't looking. We have brake fans, which is kind of cool. We're over speed. Is that what the? Wait a minute. I should be. We shouldn't be over speed. Interesting. We do have auto brakes. If I can click that on. I can click it, but it doesn't seem to want to go on. Yeah, it's mad at me. 230 over speed. Let me see if I can clear that. No wonder we're in overspeed. My auto thrusters are not on. Oh my goodness. That's what it's pissed about. That's why it's mad. My bad. I should have hit that when I hit the autopilot. Darn it. Well, it's my first flight. You gotta learn sometime. And I say that because all the other times I've been in this plane, we're training. I would go up and come back down and crash and go up and go around. This would not work. That would not work. I did something wrong. I didn't do something as soon as I should have. All kinds of stuff. Let's flip this up to 40. And then I've got airports on. Okay, let me double check over here. Okay, autopilot's on, auto thrust is on. Doggone it, I missed that one. Okay, this is expedite, this is approach. So this will put on when we get close to landing. This one also goes on when we're close to landing. Okay, everything looks okay. I think we're all right. When this light is on, that means your altitude is on automatic. But we should be okay. I don't know how to clear that over speed, but we're not going to worry about it. Okay, we're coming up to Limes over here, and I don't think I had to do anything. It's coming back down to 5,000. We're supposed to be at 5,000 at Limes and Carl. So I don't have to worry about anything until Pegpew. Or Pegpew. And if you notice up here, let's get over here. Right here, it says Limes. That means that's the one we're coming to. And notice it's in white, because we haven't got there yet. So, and it says that we're 4.5 nautical miles. Now, when I'm flying at 5,000 feet, which I will be as soon as it comes back down, and it says that I'm supposed to climb to 11,000 right here at that Pegu. What I can do is, let's say this was Pegu right here at Carl, and I'm at Limes. At Limes, I'm supposed to be at 5,000, which I'm close enough to because I haven't reached it yet. But let's say I'm supposed to climb to 11 by Carl. It doesn't happen instantly. I have to start climbing right here to get up there. So that's why it's important to watch up here as to what's coming. As I'm flying and I see that Pegu or whatever it is come up here, I know that I better go over and kick it up to 11,000. So let's see. I'm down to 5,000. We're turning a little bit. Let's see what we're looking at. This is New Zealand, and we're over the ocean. Here's something that's interesting. See how far we are away from the shore? If you look at the map, it looked like we were following the shoreline. We are, but not as close as I thought. It's a little deceiving looking at the map. And because wait till we get to this area right here. I mean, it looks like the shore's a long ways away. Interesting. We're flying United. Sweet. My first trip. The test is going to be the landing. That's going to be the test. All right, we're coming up to Carl. I think Carl is still 5,000, so we're okay. We're flying at 5,000. We're only at about 230 on the speed. You can adjust the speed. Up here, we can set the speed, and as long as the dot there is on, it's on automatic. Uh-oh, we're not on automatic. How come? What happened? I don't know. Well, we're staying at 5,000. I'm gonna let it go. I don't know. I think it's waiting. It's because I went over my 5,000 limit to start with, I think. Because if you notice, it's waiting for me to go to 11, because that's what's in the flight plan. And what's after Carl? Silvo, T Papa, and Bruda. So we got a little ways to go. In actuality, it wouldn't hurt if I go up to 11 now. I don't think. What do I know? 11,000. I'm not used to flying that high. Yeah, I think if I adjust this and then hit the button, it'll put it back in auto. This is set up, it's my understanding, to, if it's in this area right here and locked in, that's taking your speed and your altitude together. And if I was to change from 5,000 to 11 and put it back in automatic, it automatically climbs at a nice even rate. It adjusts the speed and the height together. So if we were out here and I set that to 11,000, you would hear the engines pick up a little bit because it has to climb. But it wants to climb gently. And so as long as everything's in those positions, the throttle and the computer and everything, it'll just climb very slow. When it gets to where it wants to go, it'll even out. And the same way coming down. But if for some reason I make a mistake and I don't start coming down fast enough or going up, there is a way to make it go climb and decline faster. So you set a number in here, 1,000, 2,000, whatever you need to come down as fast as you, or as slow as you need to. And then you hit this expedite, and it'll expedite that speed. I don't like using it because it always seems like when I do that, something goes wrong. I wouldn't blame the plane. I would blame the pilot. Looks like everything's okay. We're coming up to Carl. Everything's looking good so far. Is that a rock down there? Wow. It looks like my plane crashed. Just can't see the wings. Yep, we're turning just slightly. Just slight turn there. Okay, what's coming up? Silvo. We got 65 nautical miles, says so right here. And now we're pretty good to have a cup of tea or a soda or something right now. There's not too much to do, just maintain everything. Go up or down when you're supposed to. When we get to the point where we're coming down, though, then we have some work to do. I'll have to remember to change the barometer. I don't know if you've noticed, but I haven't been using the nav radios. I should have done all of that. This is just a preliminary test flight, but I should have all of that in the computer. I should have put all those radio navigation frequencies in. For one thing, I'm still working on how to do that, and a lot of that comes from the charts that you need to look at. I can show you that too, I guess. I got another web page that I go to. I've got the the nav charts, or nav graphs. I pay for that. This one I'm going to show you is another free one where it helps you plan out things. And this is what it is. And these are all the information that you need to put in to figure out what you need to do. Navigation radios, VORs, airports and their frequencies and restrictions of height, all kinds of stuff that you need to know. And that's why I wasn't worried about setting up these nav radios. I just don't know how to use them yet. I'll get there. Okay, 56 nautical miles to Silvo. Silvo Y506. Tapa, Pegu. 99, 1840. Yeah. Yep. I don't know why I have to climb so damn high. It's restrictions. I don't know why. What is that old saying? It's not for me to question why. It's for me to do and die. I tested a flight here one time. There's a mountain. I think it's that one over there. It's a volcano. I flew over that. That was kind of cool. I did that with a bush plane. I'll have to do that in an upcoming movie video. Because that was kind of cool, looking at that. They got some pretty harsh restrictions on the area around that volcano. All right, let's go ahead and take a look. 44 nautical miles. All right, I'm going to go ahead. It may be a little early. I'm going to go ahead and I think I screwed up already anyway on the altitude. I'm not going to worry too much about it. I mean, it's not like the sky cops are going to come after me. So I'll just make sure I do it right on the next flight. What I'm talking about is, I think, if you remember, initially I was supposed to be flying at 36,000, and I dropped it down to 18. I never went up to 18. Those numbers that I was looking at, that 11,000, was the coming down. So I'm going to, I don't know why it won't let me do this. Why won't it let me do this? It's not letting me set that. Wonder why. That's going to be a problem. Well, it's going up, but why is it not set? I don't get it. Why does it not? Why is that light not coming on? It kind of bothers me for the flight down to the airport, because there's still stuff I'm not sure of how it works. Seems like it's climbing awful fast. This isn't, because this is not on. Dang it. Man, it's really going up fast. All right, I'm going to try something here. I'm going to take off of that mark, come up here, turn that off, put that back on that mark and click it in, and put that back on. No, over speed. Man, it's really flying. Okay. Let me try something else. Okay, let's turn that off. Lower the nose a little. Lever calibrate. What that is that thing that I explained to you, that these two throttles aren't calibrated. They're not linked together. You can see that one's twitching, and that's an internal calibration I need to do with the equipment that I'm using, and I haven't figured out exactly where it has to go. One person said that they had to have theirs at 5 degrees, but I tried that. It didn't work. So maybe it has to be more than 5 degrees. All right, when do we see? We got Silvo at 22 nautical miles. From Peg Zoo, I have to go down to 9,000 after Peg Zoo. So I'm actually getting pretty close to our destination. There's that volcano I was telling you about. There's restrictions on the base of the volcano. See the dark area? That's all very, very, very thick forest, and you're not allowed to do anything in that forest. Why is it going up? Oh man, something's not right. Shut up, I know. Something's not right. Right. Okay, the autopilot kicked off. And let's bring this down. There it went. Auto thrust. It's on now. Thank you. I don't know what I did, but I'm going to go ahead and come down while I can. But that should control the speed a little bit. Let's look at our throttle. And I'm in idle right now, so let me kick up to that and lock both of them in. Okay. Now I should be in automatic, auto thrust. It's coming down a lot slower. The speed's coming down. All right, we're back in business. I'll be fine. Oh, I'm coming over land. That means, I think that means, yeah, we're getting close to something, maybe. Now what's it doing? What are the engines doing? Uh, 9,000. See, that should be coming down. Actually not. I've got it back on autopilot. Autopilot said it was supposed to be at 11 until I get to, what was it? Ukleb? No, Ugtov. At Ugtov, I'm supposed to go down to 9. We'll be fine. Maybe. We haven't crashed yet. Wow, that's rugged looking country. Looks nice to me. Okay, so we're crossing this area here. You notice there's more ocean right here. So I think I know where we're at. We're coming over this piece of land right here. That volcano sits right where that little hand is. And then we'll start coming down here, and then we'll have to swing 180 degrees to come into the airport. That's what I'm worried about, because we're going to have to control it coming down, turning left, and then at the same time doing all the stuff we need to do to prepare to land. There's a lot of stuff to do. That's why I was worried about that problem with the autopilot. I don't need that kind of problem coming up to landing. Our speed's down. We just got 94 nautical mile, 96, 93 to get to T-Papa. T-Papa, Papa, Pow, wow. All right, we'll just let it go. It knows what it's doing. Somehow, we'll make it. This is scary. For years, people asked me if I'd played Flight Sim, and I said, yeah, kind of, but, well, how come you're not recording it? I said, because, for one thing, I'd be embarrassed as hell, because it's hard. Hell, I'm not very good at easy games. And the older I get, the worse it is. I mean, my wife is terribly happy with me right now. At first, I told her I was going to start playing another game, and she said, "Oh, geez, I guess I'll see you around when I see you." And because I get into these games, and then when I showed her what it was, she got all excited because she's watching videos on Alzheimer's, and she's sensitive to Alzheimer's because her mother died in her early 60s, or middle 60s, with from Alzheimer's. And so my wife is pretty sensitive to that, and she's always worried that it's going to happen to her. And so she's watching these videos, and she's finding that these people, and you're talking about doctors that don't know what the hell they're talking about. They don't know that much about the human brain. They don't know as much as they think they know about archaeology. And so they claim that if you really work your brain, it's good for you. And so me having to learn to fly a plane and all this stuff that I'm studying and these charts and all this stuff, she's all excited because it's going to help me as I get older to keep my brain functioning. Because, you know, in my youth, I was pretty sharp. And I have done a lot of things in my life that took a little bit of brain power. But I can tell that I'm not what I used to be. You probably can too if you go back and watch some of my earlier videos. I start to lose confidence. I'm getting to the point where, you know, I've built every one of my computers over the years. And I told my son just last night that I'm really seriously thinking about not building my next PC, but finding somebody that I trust that can lead me to somebody to build one for me. Well, we passed the volcano and it didn't erupt on us. Believe it or not, there are houses down there. Look at all the farmland. That's all farmland down there. There is a city, though, over yonder. And then there's some rough areas that you couldn't farm if you wanted to. Look at that heavy forest down there. There's more farmland over here. That's why it's kind of fun to fly the little bush planes. You can really get down and dirty and take a look at what's going on down below. These things, they fly. That's why I don't like flying at 36,000 feet. You know, it's too high, man. How we doing? 71 nautical miles to our next T Papa. This is the next stop, or the next whatever. Get a little bit closer, I can change the barometer down up to 1020. Got to remember to do that. Yeah, I'm going to have to watch, because when we get to a certain point, things happen really fast. Like this, we're almost there. We're coming off this land, and if you look how thick this is right here, this is all the little spots that I have to come down, and then do a 180. It's going to be scary. So things are going to happen pretty fast. Let's see, my co-pilot, she doesn't look scared. You should be terrified. You haven't touched your coffee yet. What kind of coffee is that? Mine looks like it's imploding. "63 nautical miles. Oh, I forgot to set my chrono. Oh well. Like I said, it'll get better. The more I do it, the more practice, it'll come so easy. Maybe. Maybe not. Yeah, the T Papa, I think, once we reach that area, that's when we start coming down. Because if you remember, right before the runway, we were in T Papa 4 something. Yep, we're over water. Again. I wonder if New Zealand is anything like Australia as far as everything wants to kill you. Everything crawling on legs in Australia wants to kill you. Yeah, the last jet I was practicing on was a, what the hell they call that? JetBlue out of New York. I liked it. It's solid blue plane. The wings were white, but the plane was solid. The fuselage was solid blue, and on the side it said that the honor our veterans or something like that. We honor veterans. Says on the side. I thought that was kind of cool. 49 nautical miles. You can tell I'm getting nervous. I'm tongue-tied. Oh, I never did look at my fuel. Remember when we took off, there was only 4,000. I think of it as gallons, but they're not gallons. And they don't think of it as gallons either. In the U.S., it's pounds of fuel in tons. So I don't know what the weight is metrically. It's kilo something, but there were only 4,000 of it. But I do look like I've got plenty of fuel. It's not in the red yet. That gets a little scary about some of these planes. They only put enough fuel in them to get where they need to go according to their weight, the weather, altitudes that they fly. And you might wonder why they fly at such high altitude. It's because the air's thinner up there and they use less fuel. There's no air to fly through. Not 23, 40 nautical miles. Yeah, I was watching a video just last night, and it happened to be somebody playing on an Xbox on this game, and they did a video using the in-game version of this plane, and I thought, you know what, I've not flown the in-game version. Maybe I should watch this video. His video was about how to land. And so he started up in the air and just videotaped a video of him coming down and the things he had to do. And there's a point, if you come in and you're on an instrument landing, the plane will fly in for you if you do it right. And at the last minute, you turn the autopilot off and you land it yourself. That's what almost all the pilots do, real life and also in game. I've had many pilots. I'm calling them pilots because they're simulation pilots. I've heard many of them say, well, what's the point of flying the plane if you're not flying the plane? So they will use the autopilot when they're in the middle of a flight like this, because it's kind of boring. Can you imagine holding the throttle and the stick for 2 hours if you're on some of these flights that some of these guys take? It's just, you'd be exhausted. Your arms would be wore out by the time you get there. You might as well fly yourself by flopping your wings, you know? So they all use the autopilot, but they don't at takeoff and they don't at landing. Again, what's the point if you don't experience the thrill of landing and the thrill of maybe crashing and a headwind or a side wind or bad weather? I actually can't wait to start putting actual weather in. I have to get to be a better pilot before I do that, and to be more confident. I mean, just the thought of the landing coming up has got me, upset. I'm not upset, but anxious, let's put it that way. Because you have to do everything at just the right time. And you have to remember the everything to do. I tell you the most important thing, since I'm new and I'm just learning, and where I've made the most mistakes in landing, it's being ready to land long before you actually get to where you're going. I can't tell you how many times that I haven't been paying attention, and it's time to land in just, a few miles, and I'm not prepared, and I'm flying way too high. I'm flying way too fast, and I haven't thought about the things I need to do to get down. You have to start way out there. You have to start coming down. You have to start slowing down. You have to make sure that everything's set on the autopilot, all of that stuff, because it's not all automatic. There's a glide path that you have to find. You have to be at the right altitude, at the right speed, and if you are, the instruments will grab your plane and bring it in for you. But most of my problem has been that I'm either coming in too fast or too high. And so that's why I was a little worried about flying at 36,000 feet. This is such a short flight. It's hard to slow down and come down that far in time to land. Because you're landing it, you're starting down to, what is it? You have to be down to like 2,000 feet or so to have the instruments see you, and then you're coming down to 400 or 500 feet before you land, and you have to slow down, and you have to put flaps on, and there's a whole bunch of crap you have to do. You put one flap down at 190 speed, 180, you put another one, 160, you put one. If you have time, you put the fourth one down. Yeah, okay, we're coming up to where I need to be down to 9,000 feet. So we better hope I'm coming down, because I'm not coming down. It's still set on auto, but I don't see it up here. Got 11 nautical miles to Papa, but look how close Pegu is, and I'm supposed to come down from 11 to 9. Let me see this. What's that? Man, I don't know what's going on. I might have to come down manually if it doesn't. wondering why that isn't showing up here. This should be showing up. Right here. All right, so let's see. Auto throttles on, autopilot's on. That's set up right. I don't know, but this better start coming down. Maybe once we get here. Like I said, if I'm supposed to be down... Oh, I'm supposed to be down to 11 at Peg Poo. But the thing of it is, if I'm going to get down to 11, when I was supposed to be set up at 36,000, that's not very far to get down. Because look how fast these little markers are coming up. Because I'm getting close to where I'm going to have to come down to land. Okay, I got 2 nautical miles to T Papa. Let's see what happens here. I'm worried. I'm getting a little anxious. One mile, 9.9, 0.8, 0.7. All right, we're turning a little bit. Plane, are you going to do what you're supposed to do? All right, 15 to Bruda, 15 miles to Bruda. And then Bruda to Pegu, or Pegpoo, Ugtov, Ukleb. Those 3, I've got to be coming down. 11 at Peg, 9 at Ugtov, and 7 at Ukleb, and then down to 3,000. And that's not a lot of room to come down that far. Wow, I'm nervous. And we're not close to land yet. There's still a lot of water down there. I don't want to crash in the water. Well, I don't want to crash at all. There's the airport right there. And I'm still way too high. I've got to come down and make that 180-degree turn. Oh my God. This is scary. It's just a game. Well, you want to do your best, right? Yeah, that means the airport's right around the corner here. Someplace over in here. So we got to come around like that. was one of the reasons why I chose this route. I thought that 180 degree would be a challenge. Little did I know how big a challenge. Oh boy. Oh boy. Take that so I can't see it. So it's not quite as scary. Okay, we're getting close enough. Let me change this to 20. And then this one down here to 20. And I'm not starting to come down yet. Come on. There's my 11 right there. That's that purple thing I was looking for. So it is there. I just didn't see it. You better start dropping. .9 miles. All right, so we're right on target now because I'm supposed to be at 11 here. I'm supposed to be at 9 there. So I'm going to have to come down pretty fast to get to 9 by that marker, and then 7 to that one. And then from there, all the way down to 3,000. This is going to be a test. If the computer knows what it's doing and I don't have to take over. Worst case scenario, I don't get down in time and I have to, oh, that's really a slow crawl down. I don't get down in time and I have to take over manually and do another round the airport and come back. We'll keep track of that, see if we can do it. We got 4.7 miles to come down 2,000 feet. It doesn't look like it's doing it. I could help it by dropping the speed, but let's see what happens. Might do it. It's down to 10 already. It might do it. I'm surprised. We got 2 miles left to go. By golly, it's gonna do it. It's coming down to 9. Okay, we got to bring this down to 7. There's the 9 that's programmed to do. That's going to make it. It's got 0.5 miles to go. That's amazing. Trust the computer, I guess. Yeah, we're coming down. Look at this. All right, so it's dropping down again. It's got to come down another 2. When it gets halfway there, I'll go up to the autopilot and bring it down to, what is it? I think I've already got it set at 7, don't I? I got to bring it down to 3 and then down to 2. So this right here, I have to be down to 3 and then down to 2 there. I think. No, it was Umka that I have to be down to 2 and then coming in. So I'm 2,000 coming in, which means I should be able to get down low enough to hit that glide path. Okay, we're down to 7. 7's coming up. Okay, let's get over here. Bring this down to 3. Here we go. Okay, there, that mark there, that's my decelerate. I'm supposed to be 3 by the time I get there. I got 5 miles to go, and then 2 there. And I'm coming down, which means your speed's coming, you know. That's why I wanted to leave that set on automatic so it controls that speed. Once I get down to about 190 speed-wise, I can start throwing flaps on. All right, let's make some preparations. That's armed. Okay, that's armed. Flaps are at 0 right now. 5,000. Well, we should be down to 3 by the time we get there. We do have it over here on the right too. I can see it coming down. The speed is over here. That's weird. This thing shows the flaps at 1, but I don't have any flaps down. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, no, it's on 0. I got 4 stages. And so you set it at 190, 180, 160, and then if you got time. All right, 39, we're still a little bit high. We got 3 miles to go. All right, let's bring this down to 2. I don't know if I'm supposed to do this or not. Well, I didn't say that right. I don't know if I have to do that because supposedly it's programmed in the computer. All right, we're turning again. Pretty quick, we should be able to see the airport. All right, we're below 3,000. Right at the end of this next turn, right, I should be at 2,000. I don't feel too bad. One of the guys I watch does this every day, and he's been doing it for years, and he's really good. And I watched him do a landing the other night, and he hit really hard. And so he yelled out, "Oh my God!" And all the people, he's got that program where all the people were just screaming. All right, we're at 2,000. Listen to those engines whine. Slow the engine down. Okay, we're at 200, 210. We're coming in. All right, I got to get to work. Let's see. All right, so let's see. Let me see if I can hit that. We need to hit approach. And we should start seeing little diamonds. There's a diamond right there. And there's another one that's lining up. When it lines up, Okay, it'll come back. And then this one comes down, and then both of these diamonds are in this mark here. Then we'll be lined up perfectly for that right there. Okay, it's coming down, and that's going back. We're looking good. Okay, everything's looking good. Keep your fingers crossed. It's coming down. This is the glide path, or glide, and you see glide slope, and you see that it's got me, and it's bringing me in. Okay, and the speed's coming down. I can put the landing gear down. That'll slow us down. Landing gear down. Get ready to do some flaps. I don't want to do the flaps too soon because I don't want to come down too fast and miss my landing strip there. Get my thumb on the autopilot. I need to turn that off and take control. I'm going to put a flap down. It's a little early. Uh-oh. I didn't mean to put that other flap on. Dang it.
Too low. Terrain.
Yeah. Let me
Too low. Terrain.
I'm going to take over.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
I hit that
Too
flap,
low. Terrain.
flap too soon.
Too low. Terrain. 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 Pull
Oh.
up. Too low. Terrain.
Hush up.
Pull
I'm in trouble.
Too low. Terrain. Too low. Terrain.
40,
Too low. Terrain.
10, 5.
New Zealand. Where am I supposed to go? Up on the left, I think. It's hard to tell. There's houses. I'd like to have a house right at an airport. How noisy would that be? All right, let's see. There's an empty spot right there. Let's get it. All right, here we are. Well, that was exciting. I'm exhausted. I don't know about you. Okay, well, let's finish this up and get out of here. So first of all, let's go up here. I don't know. Do I want to go all the way dark? Yeah, I guess so. So we'll turn these things off. I'll leave the engines running for a minute because I need power. Actually, let's not. Let's turn the engines down because I've got access to external power here. So let's grab that. And then we'll just set those. There's one. Let's turn that off. Turn this off. Standby. Standby. Parking brake is on. Second engine off. We can leave the lights on for now. I can kick the lights off when the power goes off. Okay, starting at the top. Anything we got to do? DPS primary lost. We can turn flight director off. All this stuff is fine. We can turn that off. We can turn that off. Let's see what we got up here. Turn all the lights off. Oxygen's off. Ooh, the oxygen's off. Let's turn these pumps off.
The doors verified?
And we don't need the APU. Let's put the seatbelt sign down. Smoking sign down. Close enough for government work. Let's see here. All this stuff is fine. The janitor will clean up the rest. All right. Then let's shut the batteries off. And external power off. And we're down in dark. Wow. I hope you had fun. And hope to see you in the next one. I'm going to try to do better next time. Thanks for watching. See you then. Ta-ta for now.